Hi, it's Sylvester, and I made a video recently about how I used to struggle with maladaptive daydreaming, and that seemed to resonate with people. People seemed to enjoy that video, so I wanted to talk some more about said daydreaming. Now, if you don't know what maladaptive daydreaming is, it's a daydreaming disorder where you daydream all the time, and sometimes it can be disruptive, and sometimes it can, mess up your life a little bit. And when I say I struggled with it, struggle does feel like too strong of a word because even though it did affect my life in negative ways, it was overall very fun. And as I said in that previous video, I kind of miss having daydreams. I just can't daydream anymore. Something happened. I guess maybe it's just getting older, but whatever happened, I just can't get into the daydreams anymore. It's just not fun. And I don't know why. And I really do miss it because it really was great at times. It did affect my life negatively. Like there'd be times when I'd be hanging out with my friends and all I wanted to do was just go off and be by myself and daydream. And oftentimes I would, I'd cut hanging out with my friends short so I could go home and just lay in bed and daydream or sit in my room and daydream because I genuinely enjoyed it so much that it was better than real life interaction, which is admittedly a problem. I also would sometimes get in trouble at work for being up in my head daydreaming instead of focusing on the task at hand. I was often kind of distracted and I wouldn't do my job as efficiently as I should have because I was distracted by my own daydreams. And honestly, if you don't know, I'm a marijuana addict. I haven't smoked in a while, but I do struggle with marijuana use. For a long time there, I smoked a lot of marijuana every day. I really needed it to get by, kind of thing. And a part of why I was addicted to marijuana is because it helped me daydream. It helped me to kind of zone out and just go off into my little daydream world. And that's a big part of why I liked marijuana so much. And I guess that's a big part of why marijuana doesn't really do it for me anymore, is because I can't daydream, and so therefore the marijuana doesn't really help me the way I want it to. Like I smoke weed and I think that it's going to get me daydreaming again, and it just doesn't. And then it really frustrates me and upsets me because it's like, this used to work. This used to help me go off into my little playland in my brain. And a big part of the reason why I don't daydream anymore is probably because of the psychosis, which was caused, at least in part, by marijuana use. If you don't know, in 2019, the end of 2019, I became psychotic. I started hearing voices and I started seeing things and feeling things that weren't real. And so that really ruined my ability to daydream because my brain was being hijacked. It felt like other people were using my brain and I couldn't use it for my own little fun fantasies. And like I'd have hallucinations where celebrities and famous people were in my brain, but it wasn't fun. I wasn't able to control them. I wasn't able to make my little stories anymore because suddenly the people in my brain seemingly acted of their own accord. Like they no longer followed my orders. They did what they wanted to do, and they often hurt me, and I couldn't stop them. I didn't have any control over my hallucinations. So that is a big part of the reason why I have a hard time daydreaming now, because it feels like my brain has been stolen from me. My daydreams were taken from me in some weird way. But anyway, it was kind of beneficial to be able to daydream. I was never bored. If I ever had to wait, like I went to the doctors and I had to wait to see the doctor, I didn't have to bring a book or anything. I'd just be able to sit there and daydream, and my brain was able to entertain itself. Nowadays, I hate waiting. I hate it so much. It is painful because my brain doesn't know how to entertain itself anymore. So I'm just stuck with my own thoughts, and I don't usually like my own thoughts because I have many mental illnesses and I struggle with intrusive thoughts and stuff. And so when I have to wait, like I said this before in a video, but one of the reasons why I don't go to church much anymore is because I hate the part where I arrive at church and I have to wait for the service to start. So I usually try to time it so that I get to the church right as the service starts so that I don't have to wait, because I hate waiting. It is absolutely painful for me because, again, my brain doesn't know how to entertain itself anymore, and it doesn't know how to pass the time anymore. So I'm just sitting there feeling every single second pass, and it's painful. And yes, there is somebody playing the organ as we wait for the service to start, but that's not enough to entertain me. So anyways, let's talk about the actual daydreams that I used to have. I've spoken about it in previous videos. In my Jackass video, I talked about how I often daydreamed about helping people, saving people. Like, I'd imagine people getting injured, and then I'd come in and save them and nurse them back to health. And that was a lot of what my daydreams were. I definitely have, like, what is it, a Superman complex or something like that, where I dream about helping people, saving people. That's a big part of the reason why when I went to school, I wanted to become a paramedic. I actually went to the paramedicine program at University of Toronto Scarborough, which is a joint program with Centennial College. So I would have graduated with a diploma and a degree. I would have had a health sciences degree and the ability to be a paramedic. So I could have continued my studies and became a surgeon, which was my ultimate goal, but I also was able to be a paramedic. So anyways, it doesn't matter. The point is, I had daydreams about saving people, so I thought it would be good if in real life I could actually save people. I thought it would make me feel good. And, it probably would have if I hadn't dropped out of school, which that's a long story. I had to drop out of school because I got PTSD because I got kidnapped. Again, it's a long story. The point is that also when I was kidnapped, as I was being held hostage, I didn't daydream at all. There was like no daydreams because I was in constant survival mode, just constantly living in fear, and so that constant fear made it so that I was not able to daydream. And that was one of the most painful things about being held hostage, believe it or not, was the fact that I didn't have the ability to go into my brain and make myself feel good because I just couldn't. I was just stuck living in the moment in fear. And anyway, I also often imagined being saved. I don't know, like, I feel like I should be ashamed to admit this, but a lot of my daydreams did involve people taking care of me, usually big, strong men, actually always big, strong men, taking care of me. I'd get injured, I'd do something cool and impressive, and I'd end up getting injured, or I'd get kidnapped by somebody, which, you'd think that after getting kidnapped in real life, I'd stop daydreaming about getting kidnapped, but actually the daydreaming about getting kidnapped became more prevalent after I was kidnapped because it was a way for me to cope. And so I'd get kidnapped and I'd get hurt, but then, Sam Winchester from Supernatural or whoever I was daydreaming about at the time would come and rescue me and nurse me back to health, and I'd be really resistant. I'd be like super like, I don't need your help, man, like go away, I'm fine. And he'd be like, come on, Sylvester, just let me take care of you, and he'd be like super patient with me and help me even though I insisted that I didn't need help, and I'd be super grumpy because I didn't like being weak and I didn't like having to be saved, but like deep down I was really getting off on the fact that this dude was like taking care of me and trying to save me. And so like, it was one of those reluctant situations where again, I liked being saved and helped and taken care of by big, strong men, but I had to act like I didn't because I'm big and I'm tough and I don't I'm a strong, independent man who don't need no man taking care of me. Is that racist? Doing the I don't need no man, is that racist? That feels racist. I'm sorry I did that. Another thing I learned about myself through maladaptive daydreaming is that I didn't actually imagine myself having relationships. I said in my Jackass video that I imagined myself getting together with one of the people from Jackass, usually Johnny Knoxville or Chris Pontius, but in reality, I always daydreamed about the will they won't they part of the relationship before we actually started dating, where it was like there was a ton of romantic tension, but neither of us wanted to admit it or make a move. And I'd always be, strong independent man who's like, I don't need to be taken care of, I don't need nobody, I'm fine by myself. And so I'd be like resistant to the idea of being in a relationship, but the man was always like really patient and nice to me, and it was like really obvious that there was attraction and that we wanted to be with each other, but like we just never ever got to the point of actually being with each other. Like it was always the moments of like, will they, won't they, never the moments of actually imagining myself in a healthy relationship. I don't think I ever daydreamed about actually being in a relationship with anyone. Again, it was always the moments before a relationship started. So I don't know what that says about me. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that I've never been in a relationship, so I just don't even know how to imagine what it's like to be in a relationship. Or maybe it's because it's more exciting when you're in the moments when you're like flirting and you're like, you're going to end up together, but you're not quite there, and you're still like really good friends, but you're also like, there's also kind of like some playful like teasing between you. Like I was never mean to the men who I was daydreaming about, but I would be kind of like sassy and like, push them away a little bit, but playfully, which is, I guess, kind of toxic, because in all of those movies and shows for teenage girls where the girl's like, no, I don't need you, I don't want you, and then the boy just like keeps trying even though the woman has made it very obvious that she doesn't want him, and then eventually she gives in and is like, okay, fine, I'll date you. It was kind of one of those things where like I would push the boys away, but they'd still keep coming for me, because like they knew that even though I was pushing them away, it was just because I was scared. I was scared of being intimate, I was scared of being vulnerable, I was scared of the relationship, but they knew that I wanted them, and they knew that I was just scared, and so they were like very patient with me and very they wouldn't be pushy, they wouldn't just like keep trying to date me even though I kept saying no. They just, the fact that I was pushing them away wouldn't make them actually leave, because they knew that I didn't actually want them gone. I was just being, anyway, I think I've overexplained it. I overexplain everything. I had a lot of daydreams about a lot of things, and but most of it was me being rescued or me rescuing people. And that's why, even though I didn't like the idea of being a damsel in distress, and I didn't like the idea of having to be saved, it kind of evened out, because I would also imagine myself saving them. So I'd save Sam Winchester, and then Sam would save me, and we'd go back and forth like that, saving each other. And so it felt like it was kind of a 50-50 balance, where it's like I was not just always the damsel in distress. I wasn't just always the one being saved. I was often the one doing the saving, so it felt kind of empowering. And like I said, the entire time when we'd be saving each other, we would have these feelings for each other, but we would never act on them, because we were just both too scared. Mostly I was too scared, and so I just like push him away, but he always knew that I really wanted him there. Like when I'd be injured and I'd be lying in bed and I'd be like, go away, I don't want you to see me like this, I'm all like beaten up and bruised and I'm in so much pain, and like I just want to be alone. But then he wouldn't leave, because he knew that deep down I didn't want him to go, I wanted him to come cuddle me. And so like, again, this is like super toxic in real life. In real life, if somebody says, please leave, I want to be alone, then listen to what they say and leave, okay? But in my fantasies, when I said leave me alone, what I actually meant was come cuddle me, but I'm gonna act like I don't want it, and I'm gonna be like, oh, like, fine, whatever, and then I'd break down crying because he'd embrace me and hold me, and I'd be in pain, and I'd have been traumatized because something real fucked up had happened to me, and so then I'd start crying, and he'd comfort me, and it'd be this like moment of me being vulnerable, and him like being patient with me and understanding and not judging me and not seeing me differently because he's seeing me cry, and it would be this like really touching moment where we would connect with each other because I'd finally broken down and let my guard down and let myself be vulnerable around him. And that's the kind of stuff that really got me off. Like, I there was definitely a sexual component to the daydreams, although I never imagined myself actually having sex with these people. I mean, sometimes, but very, very rarely. Most of the time, what turned me on was the intimacy. What turned me on was the romance of it, and the will they won't they, and the excitement of somebody loving me and caring for me even if I was hard to love, and even if I resisted it, they still loved me and still cared for me, and that really did get me off. I'm not trying to be graphic, but definitely was a bit of a sexual component to it, even though I very rarely actually imagined having sex with them. And so, yeah, that's, it just made me feel really, really good. And I just can't recreate the feeling of how it made me feel. Now that I can't daydream anymore, it's hard for me to get off, frankly, because I can't imagine that anymore. I can't daydream, and therefore I can't get that feeling that I used to feel of being so incredibly turned on by this person in my brain. I can't do it anymore, and it really frustrates me because I want to be able to make myself feel good. I want to be able to turn myself on. Maybe part of it is getting older. Maybe it's whatever the vagina version of erectile dysfunction is. Maybe I guess it's just sexual dysfunction. Maybe it's just sexual dysfunction, like maybe that's all it is. And maybe that's why I can't daydream anymore, is because my body's getting older, and you stop being as horny as you get older, I guess. So like maybe that's why, but I don't know. It is frustrating, even though I know that it did affect my life negatively, and I know that I did spend so much time focusing on the daydream world that I wasn't really focusing that much on my real life. It's like my real life kind of sucks, honestly. Like, I'm severely depressed. I have a lot of mental illnesses. I'm disabled. I am alone. I have a lot to be depressed about, and my life is like, I'm very thankful for the stuff that I do have, and I'm very grateful. I'm appreciative, but my life overall does kind of suck, and it would be really nice if I could just escape into a world of my own creation, but I can't anymore, and it just frustrates me. Anyways, that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay frosty. Bye.